Hey guys, we're back. This time we're taking a look at another fan-made faction for Star Trek Ascendancy. This time around it's the Breen, and I really like this faction. A lot of work went into it to make it feel very thematic, and the overall faction was designed by Tom Nickholder of BGG, and then the models, I actually got the 3D files to print them from Frank Strauss, and the ships came out really good. The nodes are kind of weird, but I think it was just because of the resolution the printer I had was at, but everything's fully functional. I even tried doing the energy dissipators in a clear plastic. They're really hard to see the detail on the camera because they kind of look like a water splash. They didn't come out great. I've never tried using the transparent plastic before, and it was a first attempt, but came out okay. They look cool anyway. But we'll get right in and take a look at everything the Breen have to offer here. Also of note, we were playing last weekend and apparently I lost my sliders, which actually looked like the ships. And they sat on here and kind of pointed to the numbers. So waiting to get another set of those printed up, so I have sliders on there from a different faction right now. But there are sliders included in the files on BGG if you're interested. So this is probably going to come out hard to read on the camera because it's glossy, but there's a wall of text on the Breen player board here. First thing we're going to do is start with the perk for the race, which is our Great Power Ambitions, and it gives us a +1 hegemony resistance, which is really nice. On this side we have our detriment, which is isolationism, and because the Breen kind of hang off and stake to themselves, anybody who commences a trade agreement with the Breen has to pay them 2 of any kind of resource tokens that they want just to make a deal. And while it doesn't really sound like a detriment because you're getting extra stuff, at the same time it makes races less likely to trade with you because they basically have to pay you a little extra even to make an agreement. So you kind of have to offer something. Usually you're going to offer them your 3 for their 2 or something like that to compensate. Swap them out later if you want to. But it gives them, you got to give them something in return to even get them to trade with you. It's worded a little weird because it says for concluding the trade agreement. But after talking with the guy who designed the thing on BGG, that's the way it was meant to be, is when you, on conclusion of setting up a trade agreement. So as soon as you set it up and you exchange, they have to pay you 2 of something. So worded a little weird, but it makes sense and it's kind of fitting. In the middle here there's a whole wall of text, and like I said, I don't know if it'll come out too clear because it's kind of blurry in my printing anyway, and then the glossy finish on top of that. I laminated these to make them a little more durable. But it explains how the Breen energy dissipator works, and that's actually your starting advancement. There's way too much text to put on here. The text that is on there is pretty vague, so they went into a lot more detail on the actual player board. Saves you having to have an extra rules card around. So basically at the start of a space battle, you're going to decide if you want to fire your energy dissipator or your normal weapons, represented by the slider there like everybody else has. The energy dissipator does not work against the Borg, and it doesn't work against the Klingons. That one's kind of weird. There was like 1 or 2 episodes where the Klingons had some weird fluctuation in their warp core, I think it was, and it made them immune to it. Seems strange that they gave it to all of them, but they were the ones that figured out how to overcome the thing, so I guess they'll give them that. Once you've decided what you're going to do, you roll your attacks as normal. Every hit, instead of destroying a ship like you normally would in combat, disables one. You mark disabled ships with these little tokens. You can actually put them down, put the ship on top. And disabled ships no longer can contribute to that battle. Once there's no more ships left in the battle, either they're all disabled or they retreated, the battle ends. And then the Breen have the option to spend a command token for each of their ships that are in that sector, and then they can do a number of things to those disabled ships. Number one, they get the option to just outright destroy them, and then they receive 1 production for each ship destroyed this way. Or they can attempt to take over the ship by rolling a d6, and you're trying to get greater than the ascendancy of the target. If you do take over the ship, you take it off, you replace it with one of your Breen ships, and you have a free ship basically out of it. On the building phase of the other player's turn, any ship that's disabled can actually be repaired by spending a production or research token, or they can self-destruct it, which basically gets rid of it and removes the ability for the Breen to steal that ship from them. Overall, it's a really cool, really thematic thing for the Breen. I love the energy dissipators in the show. I even have them on my ship in Star Trek Online because they're just fun to mess around with. And it's very fitting for it. It seems a little overcomplicated at first, but once you've done it a couple times, it's really not that hard to figure out. And it's just, like I said, fun and thematic for them. So onto our Breen fleets. Our number 1 fleet here is a 4-ship fleet, and it's the Suicidal Attack Squadron. And in the first round of combat, all the ships in that fleet get an automatic hit, basically. Nice, quick little attack force. 4 ships isn't too overly powerful, but gets the job done. So our second fleet is the Working Camp Fleet, and when they're in orbit of an undeveloped system or a system with a level 1 civilization, it has the ability to spend a command token to generate 1 production. Kind of an interesting thing. Something I could see the Cardassians having, to be honest, but fits in well, though. Our number 3 fleet is a Diplomatic Mission. This one's got 5 ships in it, and it allows you to re-roll your hegemony attempt if you should fail when trying to take over a system. On the flip side of all of these, we have a 9-ship generic fleet, so they can mass and swarm as well. So onto our advancements. The Breen have a lot of interesting advancements. You really want to stock up research so you can get a hold of a bunch of these. Some of my favorite ones in here, they might be hard to read on camera because of the printing, but Breen cloaking technology gives you first strike and battles on your turn. We have total military dictatorship, which is basically just a extra command. Compensates for some of their more powerful cards in here. The advanced planetary invasion troops allow you to basically attack a planet, and they get 1 less. One of their nodes is basically ignored for their retaliation or their defense. There's a couple of these surprise attack cards. There's a surprise planetary attack and surprise starbase attack. The planetary attack basically lets you sacrifice a couple ships to destroy a production or research node on a rival system. The station one's actually stupidly powerful. It is a discard, so it's only a 1 use. Both of these were, by the way. And it allows you to destroy 3 ships in the system closest to a starbase to destroy a starbase. It's the only thing in the game that I know of that can wipe out a starbase. Nothing says they can't just rebuild it, but it really hurts. Steals one of their command tokens, forces them to spend time rebuilding another starbase later. And one of their most powerful ones, again, is a 1-use discard, but it's the Advanced Energy Dissipator. And you can discard this to immediately disable the energy of a complete rival fleet during a battle. And the Klingons specifically are not immune to this one. And it can also be combined with your first strike to make it really nasty, but allows you to basically just halt an entire fleet. It is only a 1 use. I think it might be worth costing a little bit more than it does, but being it's only 1 use and then it's gone, it's not horrible, and it only disables them, does not destroy them, so they can always repair them next turn if you don't manage to steal them all. Then there's a bunch of just other odds and ends in here. I kind of like the cultural superiority propaganda. Whenever you successfully invade a planet, you get a culture token. You got all of defense for your own. The biological subspace mines here turns all of your systems into level 4 hazards. The advanced cloaking technology allows you to basically move past other ships. They no longer block your movement. Also, when you're attacked, you can enter warp. It does cancel the command that they use to attack you, though, so they get their command back, but it's interesting. Ship entering troops is another interesting one, basically boarding parties. And when you have a rival ship that's been shut down because of the energy dissipator, it allows you to attempt to take one of those over without having to spend the extra command. Then there's a couple others in here. Increasing your impulse speed +2 becomes really handy. It allows you to traverse up to 3 warp lanes without using a command to go to warp, just at impulse speed. So also allows you to move away from enemies should you be attacked and not want to fight. Your retreat maneuver will be increased. It'll allow you to get away further, and they have less of a chance of catching back up to re-engage without having to spend extra commands. And then the last one, probably of good note here, is the slave labor camps. It allows you to build a production node on a controlled planet without exhausting one of the node spaces. So normally on a standard planet you have 3 nodes. You could actually build a 4th additional node on a planet. Interesting concept. I love having extra production. Helps you keep those ships up and running. Overall, because of the way that the Breen get the bonuses in space combat, you really want to build a lot of ships. You're going to be keeping those fleets up and running. The suicide attack force there is nice early on, those automatic hits. Later on, I think I would take the fleet of 9 ships over a fleet of 4 that automatically hit. Odds are in your favor, especially if you boosted up your weapons. Definitely want to boost up your weapons. Gives you that better chance to hit, regardless if you're using your main weapons or your energy dissipators. And shields to protect your ships. If your ships are alive, they can hit more people with the energy dissipators. They can disable more ships. And you can use those to either farm resources, get a bunch of production from them, or to even get free ships out of it. It's kind of a hit or miss on whether that ability, which way you want to go with it. If you need the production to, say, build a production node somewhere, then you may want to just outright destroy the disabled enemy ships to get those production. If you want to take the chance, or you need the ships right then, like you're expecting a counterattack, then it may be worth trying to salvage their ships and take them over. So either way, it's going to cost you a command. You can take the guaranteed production, next turn build yourself a ship, or you can attempt to take it over, and depending on the ascendancy of the target, your hit or miss on if you get to take a ship instantly. That's the real trade-off, is whether you want the ship right then and there in that system, or whether you want to just destroy it, get the production, build a new ship next turn. Still an interesting option in there, and it is fun to steal people's ships. So there's always that too. Overall, though, it's a very interesting faction. Plays pretty similar to the Klingons in that you're going to be a very offensive space fighting force. You're going to be building up larger fleets. You're going to be boosting up your weapons. You're going to be researching advancements to help you boost up the strength of your ships. But at the same time, it's different. The energy dissipator is a very interesting and fun new mechanic to throw around. The one thing to kind of keep in mind is that people are going to be less willing to trade with you. Again, same problem the Klingons have. They know eventually you're going to become aggressive. You're going to turn on people, and you're probably going to go for that military victory. And to get that combat conquest victory, you're going to be attacking planets. You're going to be trying to wipe people out. So they're less likely to trade with you, combined with the detriment here where they have to give you stuff in order to trade with you. Expect to be shunned on a lot of trade deals. Expect to trade unfairly. Maybe you can swap up later after a couple turns when it evens out. If you offer someone your 3 in exchange for their 1, then the following turn you can upgrade. And that way they're giving you the 2 additional for making the deal. And then later you can swap up even out, both take each other's 3 and balance it out. You gotta have to offer some kind of incentive for them to want to trade with you in the first place, especially if you're trading with the Romulans, because they don't get anything out of it on the first turn anyway, and now they're having to pay you for the honor to trade with you, as well as not getting anything. So making a trade deal with the Romulans as the Breen is a very, very difficult, and expect to take some heavy losses, at least in the first couple of rounds of your agreement, to even make a deal with them. In the end, though, they're a really fun faction to play. They're similar enough that they don't feel out of place. They're different enough that they still feel unique. And Frank made some really cool, easy to print models. I think they turned out awesome. The camera and the lighting does not do them justice. But anyway, that's a quick look at our Breen fan-made faction for Star Trek Ascendancy. Hope it helps you figure out if it's worth taking the time to print this one out and try it out for yourself. I have a lot of fun with it. It's probably in my top 3 fan-made factions right now. I know I've got a couple others that I've actually got models on the way for, so we'll see how those balance out once I get everything here. But for now, having a lot of fun with them, and they're definitely an interesting addition to the game. Anyway, as always, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.